Good morning and welcome to the VSA Capital 5-Minute Morning Miner on Friday, January the 27th. We've got through to the end of the week. It did feel like a long one. Maybe that's just because it was cold, and maybe it's just sort of the end of January, which is a bit boring. And also we were really busy this week as well, which is good, by the way. Ollie, morning. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks. How are you doing?
Well, yeah, as I say, we've had a very busy week. Announced a nice deal this morning with Equipmate. It's not a mining company, but it's an electronic transmissions EV motor company. We just raised a nice £6 million. It's an Aquis listed company, so it does show that there is liquidity on Aquis, despite what people say. Anyway, moving on to mining, why don't we start off with a dual listed Aquis stock, because Guanajuato Silver, one of our favorites, has got some news out overnight, isn't it?
Yes, their Q4 and full year production results, which were very strong, in line with guidance and slightly ahead of our estimates, which is always good to see. So they produced 401,000 ounces of silver in the quarter and 4,000 ounces of gold. So that was up 222% year on year and 22% quarter on quarter for silver, and 171% and 21% year on year and Q on Q for gold. So that means full year production of about 1 million ounces of silver and 11,000 ounces of gold, which is 2.15 million ounces silver equivalent and 6% ahead of our forecast. That largely came from slightly higher gold than what we forecast. So about 1,000 ounces extra of gold from slightly higher grades, as the throughput was pretty much in line with what we expected, as the company did squeak in getting the Cata mill, a third of their processing facilities, online just before the end of the year. So you should see the benefit of that full quarter of production there in Q1, where we'd expect higher production still. I think guidance from the company was over 1 million ounces in Q1, and our target for the full year is 4 million ounces.
Yeah, I mean, we do go on about this company quite a lot. I know it is one of our favorites, but if you are a UK investor and you want to get exposure to silver, which we think is quite a good idea, this is the way to do it. Guanajuato Silver, traded on the Aquis Exchange. Okay, moving on to another commodity, tin, and I say that one only because, one, the tin price is nudging up again. We're pretty close to 31,000 now, but we had some good news out of First Tin, didn't we, this morning?
Yes, some exploration results on a project they bought, I think, post IPO, Taronga in Australia. This is a lower grade tin project. I think the resource average is 0.16% tin over 36 million tons, but this, and it's an open pit, so it can, or would be an open pit project, so it can support the lower grades. But these results prove a 350 meter extension to the southwest of the current resource. Highlights from the drilling include 41 meters at 0.2% tin and 19 meters at 0.2% tin, including 2 meters at 0.78% tin. So although this is a lower grade resource, there are some highlights there which are above the average grade of the resource. So this extension looking quite attractive relative to the existing ore body.
Yeah, I mean, First Tin obviously was floated less than a year ago at 30p, fell all the way down to 9p. It has since, obviously, on the back of it is pretty much tracking the tin price, actually, because when tin started recovering, it's gone from 9p to now 15p. So it is pretty much a sort of a direct play on tin. Don't forget, obviously, our corporate client, Tungsten West, 80% tungsten, 20% tin, roughly. But the whole of Cornwall is tin. And we love Cornwall, and so I think we might see as tin price goes up, more interest back in Cornwall again. Also, maybe worth Ollie just noting, it's a tiny little one, but I follow a little bit Chesterfield Resources, which is it's got a copper asset in Cyprus, but it's also trying to sell one of its other assets. They just announced that unfortunately that sort of sale has gone through. It hasn't gone through, rather. A little bit of back to the drawing board, but it's quite an interesting, what I describe as almost shell company for natural resources. So I think at some stage it's going to go off and do some quite interesting deals. So just to point out that one, sadly on today's news it's off about 10%. And that's pretty about it, isn't
it? Yeah, I think so for today. Yeah.
Okay, in which case we'll call it a day. I hope everyone has a nice weekend. If you're in London, the weather looks at least dry and a little bit more mild than it has been, because take my word, Ollie and I both cycled to work. It's been bloody cold this week. So enjoy the weekend and we'll be back next week.